Hello and welcome to the X-Files Revisited, where we take a look at each and every episode in the series. Today we're going to be checking out Lazarus, episode 15 of season 1. Debuting on the Fox network on February 4th, 1994, Lazarus follows a dangerous criminal who possesses the body of an FBI agent who just so happens to be Scully's ex-boyfriend. I really hope he doesn't think about sliding back into her DMs though, because I don't think it would work out well for him. The episode begins at the Maryland Marine Bank as Scully and Agent Jack Willis await the arrival of some dangerous bank robbers. And before we get any further, let's get this out of the way. This man is Scully's ex-boyfriend. I don't know what it is with Mulder and Scully's choices with who they date, but they need to raise their standards just a bit. So Jack got some intel about these bank robbers and he's nearly become consumed with the entire thing.
I can feel them, I'm inside their heads.
Just as long as you keep yours.
We head outside where we meet our bank robbers preparing for their big heist, and they're definitely on edge.
What, are you nervous?
Nope. I just don't want our luck to run out.
Before they do anything, however, Dupree, the male bank robber, drops some corny line on his girl Lula.
No matter what happens, whenever I look up at the stars, I know you're gonna be looking up at the same ones.
However, Lula doesn't seem to be really into the kissing. Dupree throws on his mask and it's showtime. He runs in the bank, guns blazing, and how dare he point that gun at my girl. Scully and Jack get up and tell Dupree to drop his weapon, but he's like, psych, and unloads on Jack. Scully then decides it's her turn and she unloads her mag right into him. They're both rushed to ER where Dupree is DOA, while Jack is hanging on by a thread.
Come on, Jack.
You can also hear the sound of a ventilator, but I don't see one being used. Well, unfortunately Jack doesn't make it, but no, Scully isn't about to give up. And well, they should listen to her because we are about to introduce a very new segment. Scully tells someone she's a medical doctor.
We lost him. Let him go.
I'm a doctor. Go up to 400 or I'll do it myself.
While the doctors continue hitting Jack with the paddles, and well, that's odd, Dupree's dead body also appears to be reacting. They manage to bring Jack back and we get a spooky close-up of Dupree's tattoo, which I'm sure bears no significance. Two days later at the Bethesda Naval Hospital, Jack awakes from his coma, and no, Elder Scrolls 6 still has not come out. Jack steals some clothes and grabs some medical tubing which he plans on using to choke a nurse, but he doesn't know that's her kink. He then startles himself when he looks in a mirror and has a flashback to the night of the heist. Jack then heads to the morgue where he uncovers the body of Dupree. He then decides he's going to remove the ring finger of Dupree, channeling his inner Trey Parker. Mulder arrives on the scene where he's brought up to speed with Jack's disappearance and the mutilation of Dupree's fingers.
3 fingers on Dupree's left hand were severed by surgical shears. We lifted prints. They're Willis's.
Scully believes his case got to Jack as he was starting to live it, obsess over it. Mulder, however, wants to know about Dupree's partner, Lula Phillips. She was serving a 10-year prison sentence and Dupree was her prison guard. Discovery Channel is currently acquiring their story for their new hit reality show, I Want to Marry a Psychopath. Lula was released from prison a week later, and Dupree and herself began a series of bank robberies, killing 7 people in the process.
Between the two of them, they've killed 7 people and gotten away with close to $100,000.
That's a lot of money now that she doesn't have to split it 2 ways.
Mulder then notices the two are married and he thinks Jack hacked away at the fingers to get to the wedding ring. We're back with Jack, who breaks into a house looking for Lula. So either he's become Dupree or he's just nuts. He reaches into a fireplace looking for something when he notices a rash on his arm that is turning into Dupree's tattoo.
How did this happen? How did I get this?
Back with Mulder and Scully, and Mulder notices that fingerprints recovered show Jack was using his left hand, even though he's a righty, and security footage shows Dupree to be a lefty. Mulder shows Scully the EKG strip that recorded his cardiac activity and presses her on what she thinks it looks like.
But what does it look like?
2 heartbeats.
Mulder then comes to a very rational explanation for what's going on.
2 men died in that crash room, Scully. 1 man came back. The question is, which one?
The agents then head to the University of Maryland's biology department so they can bother a professor about near-death experience. He explains to them that when a person dies, they give off large amounts of energy, and this energy is what people encounter when they have a near-death experience. The energy is so intense, it's even capable of stopping watches. The professor then tells a story about a pilot that, along with 3 passengers, died in a plane crash. However, the pilot survived and started experiencing strange dreams.
That one of the dead passengers on the plane was having an affair with his wife. So one day, he strangled his wife with an extension cord.
It's a nice story.
Scully, of course, believes this all to be nonsense as she drops this bombshell on Mulder.
How well do you know him?
We dated for almost a year. He was my instructor at the academy.
Now, something tells me that I don't think a relationship between a student and an FBI instructor would have went over very well with the higher-ups. She then also reveals to Mulder that she happens to share the same birthday as Jack. Back with Jack, who decides to barge in on some poor guy just trying to catch some Z's.
What the hell? He's such a creature of habit, Tommy.
The man named Tommy claims he has no clothes on, but he's clearly wearing pants, so I'm not sure I can trust anything he says at this point. Jack rummages through Tommy's fridge looking for a nice cold one when he asks where his sister is.
Lula? Look, I don't know. I swear. I was just waiting to see her on the news.
Perfect timing, however, as she just so happens to appear on his 5-inch TV. Jack starts rambling on about Lula and then accuses Tommy of setting them up.
You sold us out to the FBI.
Dupree?
Hey, shut up in there! The agents arrive at the crime scene and this cop is really empathetic of the whole situation.
That's Lula's brother.
Well, there's not a lot of family resemblance left between the rats and the 45 he took in the face.
Mulder asks if the TV was on when they got there because he believes, based on the location of the body, he was probably watching TV, inferring that there could be prints. Then there's some commotion as Jack arrives to the scene, but has no ID on him.
Jack.
I'm glad when he experiences his flashbacks, he sees them from the audience's perspective and not his own. Scully explains to the officer who Jack is and then questions him of his whereabouts.
Where have you been?
I don't know. I wasn't myself. I just kind of woke up out in the
That's all.
street.
Before they head back to the crime scene, however, Scully tells Jack she wants him to undergo a full physical and mental evaluation when they return to the bureau. They go back to the crime scene where it's pointed out Mulder found a print on the TV and it wasn't Tommy's.
Good work, Agent Mulder. I'm impressed.
At FBI HQ, Jack is getting recertified at the firing range when his gun experiences a stovepipe jam, which then immediately corrects itself. Classic sneaky Mulder, though, then hands Jack a card telling him it's Scully's birthday.
And I was wondering if you signed that for me.
Sure. Be glad to.
But when he gives her the card, she's confused as it's 2 months early.
It's from Willis. I thought you two had the same birthday.
We do.
Well, that's news to him.
The fingerprint from Tommy's murder has gone missing, and Mulder believes Jack to be responsible for its disappearance.
Can you at least accept the possibility that during his near-death experience, some kind of psychic transference occurred?
Scully, of course, defends her psychotic ex, and Mulder points out that even his signature has changed.
Compare the signatures.
We're with Jack, who is at his desk going over crime scene photos from the day he was shot. And I don't know about anyone else, but how does he know what he's supposed to be doing? If I had swapped bodies with an FBI agent, I probably wouldn't know how to find my desk, let alone complete all the paperwork. I'd probably get the agent fired within my first hour. Now let's pause here for a second, folks, as I have some bills to pay.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Kathy wasn't too popular with her coworkers. They thought she'd rather work than go out with the gang. Kathy had acne. She was self-conscious, withdrawn, and believed no one could see past her ugly blemishes. Then her doctor recommended she visit the advanced dermatology centers. Today, Kathy's a new person, still working hard. But now she has a new life, and she's doing great things with it. For a free consultation with a specialist at the advanced dermatology centers, call 352-6900 for the office nearest you.
Jack gets a call from a landlord who thinks he has Lula staying at his apartments. Before he can go, however, Scully asks him about the missing prints.
And you were carrying the evidence back.
Are you implying something, Agent Scully?
Scully accompanies Jack on his lead and they speak to the building manager, and this guy has to be on some kind of a registry. They head to room 206 where the manager said she was, but before they get there, they find Lula heading downstairs with laundry. They chase her down to the basement where Scully comes into a boiler room, but I don't think she's alone. Scully comes to another room where she's blindsided by Lula. Scully cuffs her, but Jack comes in and grabs Scully's gun, telling her to put on the handcuffs. He starts talking to Lula like she would know he's been body swapped with Dupree, and I think her reaction is justified.
Keep your stinking hands off me.
We then move to Lula's house where Scully is handcuffed to Fry's old girlfriend.
Well, you guys might both be losers, but I just made out with that radiator woman from the Radiator Planet.
Fry, that's a radiator.
Jack, or Dupree, is trying to convince Lula in any way that he is who he says he is, and, well, he's such a romantic.
We went down to the beach. I took out my buck knife, and I sliced open my palm.
Lula is weirded out by the entire thing, and he says the grossest thing I've heard in some time.
Don't worry, baby. It won't make any difference in the dark.
Mulder and another agent named Bruskin leave the apartment complex after Scully's disappearance. Outside, Mulder gets a call from Jack. He lets Scully speak briefly on the phone, but immediately cuts off the call. Scully then decides to start messing with his head.
Your name is Jack Willis. You were born February 23rd, 1957. You live at 51 Standoff.
My name is Warren James Dupree.
She starts describing a trip they took one winter up in the Pine Barrens, and he starts losing his cool, waving his gun in her face. Lula comes in telling him to take it easy, as Scully is their ticket out of this. Jack aggressively grabs a can of soda from her, asking if there's any more, when Scully mentions that Jack is a diabetic.
Jack Willis is diabetic, which means that you're diabetic. Too much sugar in the system could lead to hypoglycemia.
Now Scully, as a medical doctor, shouldn't you know that he would be suffering from hyperglycemia and not hypoglycemia? Jack starts suffering stomach pains and Scully tells him he needs insulin. Back with Mulder, who notes 200 units of NPH insulin were recently stolen along with a box of syringes, telling the other agents that Jack is a diabetic and he believes Scully to be in the area. Scully is about to administer the insulin to Jack, while it turns out Lula played Dupree from the very beginning.
It wasn't my brother who set you up.
You?
Back with Mulder, who receives a call from Lula, she tells him he needs to get her $1 million by this time tomorrow if he ever wants to see Scully again. They get a trace on the call, but Mulder for some reason doesn't think you can trace cellular phones.
Forget it. It's Scully's cellular number. They're using her phone. We can't trace them.
The following day, Mulder is listening to the recorded call, trying to pinpoint where they may be located.
Let's clean it up some more.
You know how he walks, like a demonic elf. Hey, Bill Gates!
Well, it looks like Mulder may have something, and for the first time ever, someone actually defends him. Well, someone that isn't Scully.
An alien virus or new information on the Kennedy assassination?
Hey, Mulder's all right. Just pay attention, you might learn something from the man.
Somewhere located in this Dorito is the flight path of a plane heard from the phone call. So they're going to canvass the area and go door to door looking for Scully. Back with Scully, and Jack starts to come too, remembering the trip they took. Then he starts flashing back to the day of the heist.
Now you're dead! I'm gonna execute every one of you!
And Scully watches as he literally turns into Dupree. There's a knock at the door and Lula grabs the gun. She's pretty rude, however, as the poor guy only wanted to sell her a Bible. But he was actually an agent, and now they know where Scully is being kept. Lula comes back to inform Scully it's time to make the call, but appears to be all too late for Jack.
Guess it's over. Whoever you are.
Don't move.
But oh, it was a triple cross from the previous double cross. Meanwhile, the agents are all starting to surround the house. Lula tries to talk Jack down, but he's at his breaking point. Jack shoots her, prompting the FBI to come storming in, but it's too late for him as he also dies in the process. Oh, and his spooky haunted tattoo just suddenly disappears. The next day, Scully is cleaning up Jack's desk when Mulder hands her Jack's watch, which he got from the morgue, which is kinda weird. On the back it says Happy 35th, which she got for him 3 years ago, which would make him 38. Now there is no way this guy is 38 years old. Look, I don't want to be mean, but he's supposedly only a year older than I currently am. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Scully then says the watch isn't working and it stopped at 6:47, which, as Mulder points out, is the same time Jack died. However, if we zoom in on the watch, you'll notice the time to actually be closer to 6:54 and not when Jack died, showing once again this show to be incredibly inconsistent with its continuity. Lazarus is a good episode with a fun concept. There's a lot that you can do with a body swap story, and I think they do a good job for the most part. It does always make me laugh when they introduce someone from the agent's past who just immediately dies or we just never see again for one reason or another. This episode does share some similarities with another Scully-focused episode coming in Season 4, and I think it also involves a guy with a spooky tattoo of all things. And like I touched on earlier, if I swap bodies with someone, I would have no idea how to do their job or live their life. Maybe with Dupree being a prison guard, it gave him a little insight into how the FBI work, but I doubt it. Only thing I can think of is Jack was never completely taken over by Dupree, and maybe on a subconscious level he still knew how to do his job. Lazarus currently has a 7 on IMDb, and I think that's the perfect rating for this episode. Cinefantastique is back with a 2.5 out of 4-star rating, stating Mulder's interactions with his fellow FBI agents and his decisive actions in locating his partner are particularly welcome in giving the story a realistic feel, and his concern for Scully is a touching indication of how much he is growing to care for her. Originally, Dupree was going to take over the body of Mulder, but that idea was quickly rejected by Fox, who didn't think Mulder or Scully should ever become directly involved with some kind of a soul switch. This stance, however, doesn't last forever, as Mulder does indeed switch bodies in the Season 6 two-parter Dreamland. The opening bank robbery scene was shot on location inside an actual Bank of Montreal. Jason Schoenbing, who played Dupree, was so convincing that innocent bystanders thought there was an actual robbery being committed. The episode was filmed for 7 days just before Christmas. Due to the busyness of the season, it took an hour just to lay down a cable along the sidewalk leading to the bank so they could shoot the robbery scene. Cecilia Varell played the role of Lula. Not much is known about her as she never really had any significant roles. She has had a bunch of small roles throughout her career, but I recognized her from the film Silk, which was covered and abandoned by the YouTube channel Red Letter Media in their popular series Best of the Worst. Christopher Allport played the role of Agent Jack Willis. He got a call one rainy day to come down to Fox Studios and read for the part. Christopher and Chris Carter both played paddle tennis together, so he was surprised to see him as he didn't know he was making the show. He was highly appreciative of the episode and said of his experience, "It was a wonderful opportunity to be able to play a character who was really 2 characters at once. It was such a thrill to see it once it was finished." Christopher had a long career playing many small roles over the years, including Sheriff Sam Tiller in the direct-to-video horror film Jack Frost, in which a serial killer becomes a killer snowman. Unfortunately, on January 26th, the 60-year-old's body was found after a missing persons report was made following a freak avalanche in the San Gabriel Mountains at the Mountain High Ski Resort northeast of Los Angeles. Lazarus is a decent episode with a fun body swap story. I recommend checking it out because even mid-X-Files is better than the vast majority of TV shows these days. Check back next time as we take a look at yet another episode where one of our agents are confronted with someone from their past in Young at Heart. If you enjoyed the videos, please think about becoming a subscriber. Also, let me know down in the comments what you thought of the episode. Thank you all for watching and stay spooky.
2 FBI agents try to stop a killer who isn't afraid of dying.
He resuscitated his body.
Because he's already dead.
The question is, what came back?
Where's Scully?
You figure it out. The X-Files. You left me to die!
No!
Friday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.